Welcome back to the This Day podcast, where we connect real life, real people, and real stories. Tune in to a brand new episode happening right now. Make sure you click the links in our descriptions to find out more about our sponsors and resources where you can dive in deeper to your faith journey. And now, dive in to today's episode. Friends, a quick word from our sponsor before we jump into the episode today. You can check out all of our ministry books and resources available on Amazon, so go check those out. Now, let's hit the episode. Whitney, we're so lucky to have you on this morning, and I'm so happy to have you and get to know you a little bit better. Your cookies are just a staple here in the Middle Tennessee area. You can't go into Franklin without stopping by. So why don't you share a little bit about who you are and just your story with us? Give people who may be new to you a brief intro.
Yes, so I'm Whitney Miller, and at 22, I won MasterChef. The main judge is Gordon Ramsay. So if you have not heard of MasterChef, it's now in its 18th season or something. It's crazy. But I was on the very first season of MasterChef, and it was the next step for me because I didn't go to culinary school. I was a college student at the time. I was actually going to be a dietitian and decided in my senior year to switch gears. So if you're out there listening and you're like, this sounds like me, I'm switching gears, no matter what, stage of life you're in. I just felt like the Lord was telling me this is what you need to do. And I ended up winning that season of MasterChef, and it completely changed my life. And throughout the whole season, the Lord was with me, and I felt Him working through me, even up until the finale, where some who had watched would have thought, how can you think that the Lord allowed you to drop your chicken in the last 10 minutes of the show? And at the time, I was also questioning that. I'm like, Lord, how did you get me to this part to make me fail? Like, what is going on here? So I was plating my finished dish, and I ended up dropping from the skillet to the plate my piece of chicken, and there's only 10 minutes left of the show. And I quickly got another piece of chicken into the skillet and prayed over that chicken to be cooked. It had 7 minutes to cook, and the Lord completely performed a miracle in that chicken. Some people call it the miracle chicken. And I presented it to Gordon Ramsay, and he was like, I'm going to cut into the thickest part. And I was like, of course you will. He cut into the thickest part, and he said, do you think it's done? Because he didn't let me see it. And I was like, oh, Lord, yes, please let this be done. But I had to be confident. I was like, I know what happens if you serve raw anything, like you're done. And so I confidently was like, yes, it's done. Because I also had a lot of faith. The Lord had just brought me through a lot during this challenge throughout the whole season. And so He shows it to me, and He said, it's cooked perfectly. And I was just like floored. I just couldn't believe how just gracious the Lord was. And how He just allowed me to complete that challenge. I mean, if I would have not won, I'd be like, well, Lord, at least I didn't serve Gordon Ramsay raw chicken. But then on top of that, I was announced the winner of season 1, and just so much changed. Not only because the Lord allowed me to have that platform, but just the experiences. And then so much happened. I was working in restaurants. I've written 2 cookbooks. I've done so many things. And then as I was getting ready to grow my family and then moved to Franklin, Tennessee, the Lord put on my heart about starting a cookie company. More so because a restaurant was always kind of in the back of my mind, because I wanted to make people happy through my food. And I was like, well, it's kind of hard to somehow do that necessarily through cookbooks. Like, people still have to cook the food, but to be able to try my food, they would always be like, you want to try your food? And I'm like, okay, yes, I know. And so when the Lord put the cookie company onto my heart, I really had to pray about it because I struggled because I was like, Lord, I could do so much. Why just cookies? Even though I love desserts. And after kind of wrestling through it and then starting the journey of creating different cookie recipes, because I had one cookie recipe. I didn't even have a great chocolate chip cookie recipe. Like, I just didn't really make a lot of cookies. I had a brownie cookie recipe. It was in my second cookbook. I'd
Yeah.
served it at events. People raved about it. And that really, the brownie cookies started the whole cookie company.
That is so crazy. It's so funny how one moment can change so much of your life. Just taking one actionable step. Um, Now, there's a lot of people out there with a lot of big ambitions, big dreams. You were one of those people,
Mhm.
and you took, a step and chased that ambition. What would you say to somebody listening who has a big ambition but doesn't know where to begin? Is maybe scared to take that first step?
Yeah. Um, I'd say what is so cool about God is that you don't know what he's doing until you're on
Yeah.
the journey. And even in the journey, you're like, okay, I don't really know how I can get to here, but that's my goal. And so I thought back through how I was really a shyer kid. Like even in high school, none of my friends in high school would have ever thought I would have been on TV. But it was my first class in college that the Lord put me in a speaking class, like
Yeah.
speech. And it ended up not even being required in my major, but I ended up taking it because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do at the time. And so that one changed my life because I had to speak in front of people. I like gained so much confidence. And through that, like I was able to slowly get better and better at speaking in front of people. And to be on the show, like not only did you have to be able to have good cooking skills, but you had to also be able to speak and, be able to naturally flow in front of a camera.
Yeah.
And for me to be able to do that, like it was such a God thing. But he was already working, from the very beginning of college. So that was like
Mhm.
5 years before I auditioned for MasterChef. He was working in me. And so it's really
Yeah.
neat to be able to just kind of just pray in the beginning of what you're wanting to do and then ask the Lord to give you everything that you need. And it doesn't mean that it's going to be necessarily like that, but I think it will be everything you need at the time, like the Lord has it. Um, and even like after I won MasterChef, like I was given opportunities to like shoot cooking show pilots, and I wasn't ready for that stage. It wasn't until years later did I get so comfortable in front of a camera. And so even when opportunities come and like doors shut, like just know that the Lord still is working through you. And it's just like, well, that's just not the season or the time that he has, the big picture that he's going to show you.
Yeah. That's that's a really good word. That's powerful and impactful. Because so often we want to see past the moment, right? And we can only see, not even past the next hour, right? But God sees eternity. So
Yeah.
I think that that's a powerful thing for somebody that's listening today. Now, there's been times on your journey with being an entrepreneur, you're stretched all the time. You are trying to figure out what's the next best move. Um, how have you been stretched on your journey? How have you been pulled different ways and just challenged?
So I'm a mom of three, and being a mom and entrepreneur, also my husband's an entrepreneur, and moving to a new city where we didn't know anybody, and both starting these new careers, there was a lot of stretching,
Yeah.
and we just had to just be so faithful and just like, okay, Lord, what do you have for us? Because we moved to Franklin, Tennessee because the Lord called us here and
Mm,
we didn't know anybody but one couple. But we just felt this calling, like he was calling us to this place for a
yeah.
reason. And I remember visiting Franklin and downtown Franklin is just magical. Like, I mean, there's
Yeah.
Hallmark movies that are filmed here. And once I was this just like going through downtown, I just felt like this like calling to this area. And I once I started Whitney's Cookies, we were shipping nationwide and things, but I had a dream of having a cookie shop. And downtown Franklin was like where my heart was. And so this space comes up. I had just had my third child, and I think she was 3 months old when this space came available. Perfect timing to start something brand new.
Absolutely.
A journey of like my first cookie shop. And so I really just kind of had a laugh at that moment because I was like, of course, Lord. Yeah, this would be the perfect timing to have this big adventure. But, the Lord, I feel like does have a sense of humor, and He brought me through that season. And even when it was hard and I was stretched because I wasn't sleeping because of my job, it was just like so many
Yeah.
things going on. But He's so good, and
Mhm.
um, He's taught me a lot about patience and about endurance. I mean, it's a lot. Like I feel like I'm constantly running a race, and I'm like,
Yeah.
where's the finish line? And just last year was probably my hardest year of being a business owner. I was supposed to open two stores last year, and one we had a week before opening. And in the building we were in on Christmas evening, we got a phone call that there was a fire in the building and the sprinklers went off and flooded our whole space. So that was probably one of the biggest challenges because I
Yeah.
just cried, and especially in that season. Like Christmas season it's like the best season for the businesses because
Yeah.
everybody wants, everything. Like they're buying for presents. And so it's a huge season, but it's super stressful for me because it's just so much work. And then at the end of that, like just being so emotionally drained, I was just like, I don't think I could take anymore. And I was just thrown something that was just huge. But the positive side of that was like, I felt like the Lord was saying, you would not have gotten rest after this busy season. I'm giving you
Mm.
rest. So I was like, well, thank you, Lord. And so I have got some rest through the spring season. We hope to get everything squared away with insurance and rebuild and open in the summer. And then my second location that's supposed to open had this crazy thing going on with the city of Spring Hill, and they weren't submitting any, or no one was receiving any permits because of this sewer and water issue and a moratorium that went on. And so we still haven't received our permit. So it was just so much of just like thinking something's going to happen and it not, and just struggling with why, Lord, and then just figuring
Yeah.
out, well, was this what you wanted me to do? And so still a year and a half later, like at that point of just like, okay, is this still what you want me to do? But just praying that like he just continues opening the doors and showing me like the direction that he has for Whitney's cookies.
Yeah. They always say, a setback is always a setup for something grander and bigger. And that is firmly true in your story. Um, and we can see that for sure. Now, back in when you went on MasterChef, did you ever expect any of what has happened in your story to happen? Um, did you
Oh
ever
no.
imagine it?
No, I mean, just some of the neat things was I was able to travel all over the world and talk about my faith because it was part of my
Mm.
journey to MasterChef. And so when people would ask me like two questions, it was usually how was Gordon Ramsay and how did you cook that piece of chicken in 7 minutes? And so he created this awesome testimony through MasterChef for me to share my faith, and then allowed me to be able to, I didn't go to culinary school, I was self-taught, but I was cooking in kitchens in China and Malaysia and just all these crazy places. And he was growing me in my faith. He was growing me in my cooking skills. And just, he was just so awesome to just present those opportunities for me. And when I was going on MasterChef, I prayed that I would like be a light on national TV for him. And it was interesting because I looked back at, some of the season and I was like, I never said anything about my faith, even though that was like why I was on there too.
Yeah.
And people saw the Lord through me, which just spoke to what I had prayed for. Like
Yeah.
people were connecting, they were reaching out and they're like, we knew you're a Christian because of how you acted and your actions. And it just also speaks to like, if you are wanting to be a Christ follower and be an example for him, like people are watching you. even when you don't say things, it's in how you act. And I think through that as like a business owner and with my employees and my customers, like how we give customer service, how we give the experience in our stores. Like we want to be a shining light for him.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, one question we ask everybody that comes on the podcast is what keeps you present? Everything comes for our attention in this day and age. How do you stay focused? How do you stay present just in this current day?
Yes. Um, so I am about 20 minutes from my kitchen where we make all the cookies, and then 30 minutes from my store from where I live. And I'm like constantly playing worship music, and just like music is such a special connection with my kids in the vehicle as well. And we're all just like constantly worshiping and just filling my soul the words that come. And I'm just like, Lord, you knew I needed that. I mean, like, I feel like there was times where these challenges came my way and the Lord gave me this certain like message through a song that just really spoke to me. I'm praying in the vehicle, like just because I'm constantly, I feel like on the move, that the Lord just, I am like taking that time to just be present with him and just trying to refocus for whatever the day brings at that point.
That's so good. Now, people who've listened to this podcast that want to hear more about you, maybe they're visiting town and they want to come to your cookie shop. How can
Yeah.
they connect with you?
Yes. So Whitney's Cookies is located in downtown Franklin, and we are on 4th Avenue, 100 4th Avenue. And you can connect with us on Instagram at Whitney's Cookies. And we're also on TikTok and Facebook. You can order cookies and we ship them to you at whitneyscookies.co. And then you can connect with me on my cooking journey. I'll share like cooking recipes, tips, and just about being an entrepreneur and a mom. And you can follow me on on Instagram and Facebook at Chef Whitney Miller.
Love it, Whitney. Well, thank you so much for coming on and being with us. It has been so fun to get to know you and get to know your story. I'm just so excited for what God has in store in this next season for you.
Thank you. I just know he has something big, and I'm excited to see it all come to fruition.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again.
Thank you.
We loved having Whitney Miller of Whitney's Cookies on the podcast. Make sure you check out her cookies and follow her on all the platforms she's on. Now, you can also check out one of our amazing, incredible sponsors, Dwell Apparel. Click our link to receive 15% off your order. Know that you are so, so loved.